Well, we certainly appreciate the opportunity to meet with you today, and I think we can keep this pretty informal with a group this size. I've got just a relatively short, generic presentation about the U.S. Green Building Council and LEED, which is an acronym for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, which is a green building rating system and rating tool. Before I get started, I guess we have introduced everybody, but these three gentlemen are involved with USGBC. I think, are all of you LEED accredited professionals?
I'm not.
Not yet, okay. So, we like to position the Indiana chapter of USGBC as kind of a go-to umbrella type thing. So we're not just addressing buildings per se, but we're looking at sustainable development in pretty much all forms, how it affects our environment and our economy, and even issues such as social equity within our state. So let me get started on this. So USGBC is a relatively young organization. It's based out of Washington with chapters around the country. These are kind of the core values of purpose of USGBC. Who are members of USGBC? Well, it's not just architects or engineers. It's really people that are involved primarily with the design, the construction, and the operation of buildings, but it's also covers, legislators, people involved in the operation of schools, community planning, quite a diverse group of people. This is something that is often startling to people because when we think of energy, we think of, well, how much does a gallon of gas cost? What's the price of a barrel of oil these days? And they don't realize that buildings have a significant impact on our demands for energy. It's actually the biggest percentage of our energy use comes from the construction and operation of buildings, whether they're commercial or residential. Collectively is the biggest footprint on our energy use. So 39% of total energy, significant share obviously of electricity goes to building operation. The use of energy is certainly connected to our emissions issues. A lot of raw materials and water required to build and operate buildings, and significant percentage of our waste, well, largely goes to landfills, is from building and demolition involved in our building operations. This is a great analogy that this isn't my slide, this did come from USGBC National. But we came into a building today, and this building is in the process of becoming LEED certified. And we'll explain a little bit about what that means, but if this building were to have a label such as this, which is now a requirement from Food and Drug Administration on all the food that you buy, to tell you, when you eat this food, this is what you're getting from it. These are the good things and the bad things that are in this food. Well, we kind of look at LEED in an analogous way. When you build a building to the LEED criteria, these are the good things that come from that process, and these are the bad things that you're avoiding from that process. So you can kind of look at a food label and a green certification label in a similar way. And that's LEED, again, is an acronym, Energy and Environmental Design. And it takes 5 basic categories with the design and construction of the building, and breaks it up into workable categories. It's a point-based system. So we start with site planning. Where are you building? How are you treating the site? What types of access does that site have to public transportation, utility infrastructure, and so forth. Then we get into water. We want to reduce the amount of water required during the use of the building. Energy, of course, is a big one, probably a primary focus for LEED and for most environmental causes. Material use, are you using materials that are benign, they don't off-gas toxic chemicals and so forth to the interior. Can come from local sources, which helps create jobs, reduces transportation costs and transportation-related emissions. Are they natural, renewable materials? Are they, do they have recycled content so we can keep products out of the landfill and into useful life cycles? And then the last major category within the LEED process is the indoor environment. We spend 90% of our time, on average, indoors. School, working, at home. And so everything we put into our home can affect our health. And obviously we're in a building today that has lots of natural lighting that tends to make us more productive and put us in a better mood. And so these are all factors within the LEED process. Every LEED project starts with this. This is a part of the LEED scorecard. And again, it's all based on categories. It's a qualitative and quantitative system, so you accumulate points. And so you use this as a strategy device when you're at the outset of designing a facility and say, well, we're going to try to do this and this and this, and we're going to get points here and here and here, and we're going to set a goal of, say, LEED Silver, which is sort of a mid-level objective, and then there's a point total related to that goal. This is the benefits of green building in a broad-based view. Again, we can reduce, this is typical based on a study of LEED projects. So this is from a organization called Capital E. There are a number of studies now out there, probably 5 or 6 very thorough studies about the direct benefits and performance of LEED projects. This is just one of those summarized. Green building is taking off. We're obviously in a slow economy, but we don't expect green buildings and LEED registrations, so those are buildings that are planning to pursue LEED certification. We don't really foresee that slowing down that much. Certainly taking a larger share of new projects every year. So it's a market shift, and USGBC has always talked about transforming the market, moving the existing market, our standard way of business as usual, and moving it toward green buildings and LEED. And LEED is a dynamic thing. It changes every few years, raises the bar a little bit, so we can continue to make that shift and make that 5% and 20% of the market leadership to pursue greener and greener buildings that eventually get to the point where they're carbon neutral and have really low impact on the environment. And who is doing LEED buildings? Well, it's everybody. There are all types of buildings are registering and getting certified through LEED, so it is not isolated to any particular building type. Where is it happening? It's happening all over the country. You see in Indiana, this slide is a little bit dated, but there are as many as 66 projects that are registered. In terms of certification, I think we're still below 20, but it is starting to pick up in Indiana, which is a great thing. And we are always fighting the perception of green buildings. So to the layman, and that's a great thing. But if that's the perception of green buildings, that it's some sort of hut or a yurt, or you can build a building and cover it with grass or bark or something. But reality is we are building the most high-tech, skyscraper buildings in Manhattan that are LEED Platinum, that are significantly less costly to operate, creating some of their own energy, and just doing all kinds of great things. And so it just shows you that it's not just for the nature center or the off-the-grid shack somewhere. It's very high-tech architecture. And it's a reality in Indiana as well. This is the State Forensics Lab over on 16th Street, which is now a LEED certified facility.